somebody said to me, war is days and weeks of absolute tedium and boredom, interspersed by a few moments of absolute terror. And war is that. You know, anybody who tells you, yeah, we got to firefight every day, or we got to firefight every week, you know, I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm sure somebody did somewhere, but in most cases, it's not. You spent a lot of time walking, carrying weight, walking, trying to keep yourself dry, trying not to dehydrate, getting from point A to point B, searching areas, routine patrols, day after day, week after week, no contact, you didn't see anything, nothing, you know. And then one day you go out and you walk the same trail you walked 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden the world explodes. When an ambush goes off, the main objective for the first 5 seconds is to put as many bullets in the air as possible. When you're ambushed, everyone fires because they're trying to get you before you have a chance to take any kind of cover. And so, by definition, an ambush it's called a mad minute. And the mad minute is everybody with a weapon who's part of the ambush fires. As soon as you realize what's happening, and there are several types of ambushes. There's if you're in a valley and they're shooting, they'll come in from both sides of you and shoot down the valley. If you're on flat ground, they have a tendency, they don't want to shoot across because they'll shoot each other. So they'll set up an L-shaped ambush in which the unit on this side is firing this direction and the unit over there is firing this direction, and you're caught in a grid in the middle. That grid in the middle is called a killing ground. And the killing ground, nobody's safe in the killing ground. You're trained to rush the ambush. You're trained that when the only way out of an ambush is you have to attack the ambush. That's not true. The only way out of an ambush is to get off the killing ground any way you can. You know, one of the ways you learned was that mad minute that I just mentioned, where everybody fires. As soon as the ambush goes off, everyone starts shooting. Everybody runs out of ammunition at about the same time. Everybody fires off bursts, and then your clip is empty and you have to change it. Now, I was pretty good at changing clips, and it took me anywhere between 5 and 7 seconds to get my old clip out, a new clip in, rechamber around, and go back to firing. So you've got, let's say, 7 seconds between the time the mad minute ends and everybody reloads and starts firing again. That's the time you run. That's the time you move. If you panic before then and you expose yourself, you're a dead man. If you wait too long and they get rounds back in and they're ready to go again, you're a dead man. But you got 7 seconds in which you determine whether you live or you die. Right there. And the new guys don't know this. You know, you only know that when you've been through an ambush. I didn't know that the first time we were hit. I had no idea. I was very lucky because I had cover where I was, and I didn't have to move. But one of the most difficult things I ever did in my life was return fire. Because to return fire, you have to expose yourself. And the last thing I wanted to do was stick my head up. I wanted to crawl into the ground, you know, and just flatten myself and pull my helmet down to my feet, you know, crawl up into my helmet and just hide. A total physical impossibility, but you feel like it. You feel that there's a little indentation in the earth, and it has to be big enough to hide you. And the last thing you want to do is move. The last thing you want to do is stick your head up, and yet that's the only way you're going to live. You got to do one of those too. And so, first time I was in an ambush, I had to literally force myself to return fire. And I didn't really shoot at anything. I learned later, it's called suppressive fire. Suppressive fire means if you're shooting at them, they can't shoot at you, because one of you is busy ducking. So if you can put a lot of bullets out there, then you're not going to get shot at. And ultimately, I had nothing against the Viet Cong. I wasn't angry at them. I just wanted them to stop shooting at me. That's all that mattered. That's all that mattered to any of us. Was we didn't care if we won the war. We didn't care if we lost the war. That was all political stuff. What we wanted was to get whoever was shooting at us to stop it. And whatever it took, that's what we were for. And if they had to napalm, go ahead. If they had to bomb them with 500-pound bombs, go ahead. Do whatever you got to do, but get them to stop shooting at me, say. And that was survival. From the worm's eye view, from the boots on the ground view, there were no politics. You weren't worried about whether you were fighting for the right thing or the wrong thing. You weren't concerned about anything other than what was going on in front of you, what was going on behind you, and surviving one more minute. Just 1 minute more, and that's what it came down to. That's what we were. Kind of clinging to one another, and some kind of hope. Totally fearful. I mean, there were people crying. There were people wetting themselves. There were people who totally went berserk and stood up because they didn't care anymore. And even being killed in a firefight, just end this. If I'm going to be killed, okay, I'm going to be killed. That's it. Let's get it over with. Because what's the point of dragging it out? There was a lot of insanity. It was all battle is chaos. It's never mind plans, never mind arrows. They make it sound so organizational. They have maps with arrows, and you go that way, and they'll go that way, and they set up this unit. Now, once you hit a firefight and you're really in it, it's chaos. Nobody knows what anybody is doing. There's smoke, there's noise, there's fear, there's yelling. You're receiving conflicting orders to do this or do that. Half the time they're asking you to do something that's impossible to do anyway. You just have to make up your own mind. You got to get yourself under control, make up your mind what you're going to do now. And for some people the answer was, don't do anything. Just stay low, survive this. And for others it was, get out of here. I mean, there were people who chose to fight, there were people who chose flight, and there were people who chose to do nothing. I fought, but not so much because, as I said, I hated the enemy. Let me put it this way. I chose to fight rather than hide because I cared so much about what these guys around me thought of me that I was willing to die rather than have them see me as being a coward.